Her lover watched as she pulled me closer. My stepmom's game was a trap I couldn't escape. I staggered home from the hotel, Dad's voice a haunting echo in my fractured mind. The key a searing brand of shame against my thigh. I'm Ryan Caldwell, 24, a man ensnared in the seductive web spun by Sophia, my stepmom, in our quiet Portland suburb. The memory of her naked body pressed against mine, her lover Daniel's smirking presence, and the near discovery by Dad replayed in a relentless loop, each image stoking the fire of guilt and desire that consumed me. Dad's suspicion had sharpened, his questions probing deeper, his eyes searching my face for the truth I couldn't confess, his voice a low growl that rattled my nerves. The house, once a sanctuary, had morphed into a pressure cooker of tension, her spicy vanilla perfume taunting me from every corner, her mirrors reflecting my guilt-ridden arousal, her soft moans a phantom lingering in the walls. I couldn't sleep, my nights a torment of restless tossing, my mind a battlefield where fantasies of Sophia's lace-clad form clashed with the fading image of Mom. Her frail hand in mine, the sterile hospital air, her final breath a whisper I failed to hold on to. The guilt gnawed at me, a constant companion, yet Sophia's vitality, her brazen allure, drowned that sorrow, replacing it with a hunger that pulsed through my veins. Her texts seared my phone, each message a siren's call. Missed your heat. Come back. Your touch lingers on me, stirring my hardness with every word. I avoided her for days, my body aching with unfulfilled need. But her presence was inescapable, her silhouette in the kitchen, her hips swaying as she passed, her laughter a sultry echo that haunted my dreams. Dad noticed my distance, his concern a knife in my chest. "What's eating you, Ryan?" he asked one evening, his voice rough with fatigue, his eyes narrowing as he studied me over dinner. I lied, mumbling about work stress, my fork trembling in my hand, while Sophia watched from across the table, her lips curling into a knowing smirk. She wore a thin silk blouse, the fabric clinging to her curves, the outline of her sensitive peaks faintly visible as she leaned forward to pass the salt, her foot brushing my calf under the table, a deliberate stroke that sent a jolt of heat through my loins. "Everything okay, darling?" she purred to Dad, her voice a velvet trap, her gaze flicking to me with a promise of ecstasy, her tongue tracing her lips in a silent dare. The tension thickened, a palpable force in the air, as I wrestled with my conscience. The house itself seemed complicit, her lingerie strewn across the bathroom floor, the soft rustle of silk as she moved through the halls, the way her perfume clung to my pillow, a constant tease that fueled my fantasies. I replayed the hotel scene, her robe falling, her moans as she ground against Daniel, her hand guiding mine to her thigh, each memory a dagger of lust and shame. Dad's questions grew more insistent, his late-night searches through the house a sign of his growing unease, his clenched fists a warning of the storm brewing. Yet Sophia's smiles turned predatory, her touches bolder, her body a lure I couldn't escape, her whispers promising a descent into a forbidden abyss. I caved after 3 agonizing days, the hotel key a siren's call I couldn't resist, its edge digging into my palm as I drove through the rain-slicked streets. Room 412 awaited, a beacon of temptation, the air thick with anticipation as I parked and approached, my heart thudding a frantic rhythm. The corridor stretched endlessly, the carpet muffling my steps, the hum of the elevator a distant pulse that matched my racing blood. I knocked, the sound a gunshot in the silence, and the door creaked open, revealing Sophia in a sheer black bodysuit that clung to her curves like a second skin, the fabric translucent enough to outline her sensitive peaks, her nipples hardening under my gaze. "I knew you'd come," she purred, her voice a velvet caress that stroked my soul, pulling me inside with a gentle tug on my shirt. Her hand slid to my chest, fingers tracing the outline of my racing heart, her touch igniting a fire that spread downward. Daniel was there, lounging on the bed, his shirt unbuttoned to reveal a chiseled chest, his smirk taunting me with a challenge I couldn't ignore. "Back for more," he drawled, his eyes raking over my tense form, assessing the bulge straining against my jeans. Sophia pressed her body against mine, her bosom heaving with each breath, the bodysuit stretching to accentuate her quivering curves, her hand sliding to my waist, fingers teasing the edge of my arousal with a slow, deliberate stroke. "He wants to watch," she whispered, her lips brushing my ear, her breath a hot invitation that made my knees weaken. I tensed, my hardness betraying me, a throbbing pulse that echoed her touch. As Daniel leaned back, his eyes dark with approval, his presence a voyeuristic thrill that heightened the tension. She guided my hand to her thigh, her heat searing my palm, her skin slick with a faint sheen of sweat, her moans soft as she ground her hips against me in a slow, sensual rhythm. "Explore my forbidden heat," she gasped, her fingers tracing my bulge with a possessive intent, her nails grazing the fabric with a tease that drove me wild. The room spun with her scent, spicy vanilla mixed with the musk of her arousal, her bodysuit shifting as she moved, revealing the shadow of her intimate lace, a tantalizing promise that pulled me deeper. She leaned closer, her lips hovering near mine, her breath mingling with mine in a dance of desire, her tongue flicking the air with a silent plea. "Touch me deeper," she murmured, her hand guiding mine upward, the lace yielding to my trembling fingers, her body arching in response, a soft moan escaping her lips that fueled my hunger. Daniel watched, his smirk widening, his hand resting on his own arousal, a silent encouragement that pushed me further into her trap. The room transformed into a stage of raw desire as Sophia began to dance, her body a rhythm of forbidden passion that captivated us both. She shed the bodysuit with a slow, deliberate motion, the fabric sliding down her curves to leave only lace panties, her skin glistening with sweat, her movements fluid and hypnotic. She pulled Daniel close, her lips brushing his neck with a soft moan, her bosom pressing against his chest, then turned to me, her hand on my chest, her fingers tracing the outline of my racing heart. "Both of you," she demanded, her voice a commanding whisper that stirred my loins, her eyes locking on mine with a promise of ecstasy. I hesitated, my resolve wavering, but her fingers unzipped me with a deft touch, her hand igniting my hardened length with a slow, sensual stroke that sent shivers up my spine. Daniel joined, his hands on her hips, guiding her movements with a possessive ease, their moans filling the air as she ground against him, her hips swaying with a rhythm that echoed in my ears. She guided us together, her body a bridge of lust, her gasps a symphony of pleasure that drowned my resistance. The mirror reflected our tangled forms, her lace-clad heat, my tense arousal, Daniel's confident grip, a tableau of forbidden passion that pulsed with every breath. She leaned back, pulling me closer, her lips hovering near mine, her breath hot and ragged. "Dance with us," she whispered, her tongue teasing the air, and I let my hands slide to her waist, feeling the heat of her skin, the tremble of her curves. Daniel moved behind her, his hands roaming her hips, his breath on her neck, their bodies syncing in a sensual rhythm that drew me in. She guided my hand to her thigh, her lace yielding to my touch, her intimate heat radiating through the fabric, her moan a reward that fueled my hunger. "Feel me," she gasped, her fingers intertwining with mine, sliding upward, teasing the edge of her forbidden zone with a slow deliberation that made her tremble. The dance intensified, her body arching between us, her lace shifting to reveal more of her intimate contours, her gasps growing louder as Daniel's hands explored her curves. I pressed closer, my arousal throbbing against her hip, her scent enveloping me, a heady mix of spice and desire. The mirror captured every movement, her quivering form, my tense desire, Daniel's commanding presence, a visual symphony of lust that pushed me to the brink. She turned to me, her lips grazing mine, a near kiss that sent a jolt through my body, her whisper a plea, "Take me further," leaving me teetering on the edge of surrender. The climax neared when Daniel's phone rang again, a shrill intrusion that shattered the erotic haze, pulling him from her embrace with a reluctant groan that echoed in the room. Sophia panted, her sweat-slicked body pressing against me, her lace-clad heat rubbing against my thigh with a desperate rhythm. "Stay with me," she begged, her lips on my neck, her hand stroking my arousal with a possessive grip that made my breath hitch. The door creaked, a shadow loomed, and Dad's voice cut through the passion like a blade. "Sophia?" Panic seized me, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. She shoved me behind the bed with a swift motion, her bodysuit falling to the floor in a silken cascade, her nakedness a shield as she stood, her curves exposed to the dim light, her skin glistening with the aftermath of our dance. "Just a client, Mark," she lied, her voice steady despite the flush on her cheeks, her eyes darting to me with a silent plea thick with desire, her body trembling with unspent need. I hid, my breath shallow, my body pressed against the cold wall, the key still burning in my pocket, her naked promise lingering in the air like a tangible force that pulled at my soul. The floorboards creaked. Dad's steps grew closer, his silhouette filling the doorway, his voice a low growl laced with suspicion. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his tone cutting through the silence, his eyes narrowing as they scanned the room. Sophia stepped forward, her hands raised in a placating gesture, her nakedness a distraction that held his gaze for a moment, her hips swaying with a deliberate grace. "Just a late-night discussion, darling," she cooed, her voice a delicate weave of deception, her body a lure to divert his attention. I held my breath, my arousal still pulsing, my mind racing with the possibility of discovery. The silence stretched, a taut wire ready to snap, as Dad's eyes shifted past her, searching the shadows where I hid. My heart thudded, the key's edge digging into my palm, a reminder of the choice I faced: flee and preserve what was left of my honor, or stay and surrender to the abyss of her desire. The door creaked again, a sound that echoed with impending doom, and I caught a glimpse of Dad's hand on the knob, his knuckles white with tension. Sophia moved closer to him, her voice softening, her naked form a shield that trembled with anticipation. "Let's talk outside," she suggested, her hand on his arm, her eyes flicking back to me with a promise of continuation. The tension mounted, a storm brewing in the air, as Dad hesitated, his gaze lingering on the rumpled bed, the scattered rose petals, the faint shimmer of her perfume that hung like a confession. My body ached with unfulfilled need, the memory of her touch searing my skin, her whisper, "Take me further," echoing in my ears. The door began to close, but a sudden thud, perhaps a dropped glass, froze us all. Dad turned, his eyes locking on the shadow of my foot, and I knew the moment of truth was upon me. Would he find us? Or would Sophia's seduction save me once more, her naked truth a barrier between us and the inevitable confrontation?